You have a career, you make lots of money, you buy a condo on the beach, and you retire on the beach. I mean, come on, this is perfect. Fort Lauderdale, the American dream. I grew up in a home where my parents didn't get along, and there was verbal and physical abuse from my dad towards my mom. And so I looked on at that, and I looked on at my parents' relationship, and I really thought I had the all-American family. And so because of what was happening, I began to conclude that to be feminine was to be weak, because I saw my mother as a victim. And so I didn't want to be like her, because I didn't want to be hurt. And I didn't trust my father, and I didn't trust men because of his example. So I began to gravitate towards masculinity out of a desire to protect myself and just to not end up like my mom, who was a victim. I just grew up being called sir, son, and young man. A lot of gender confusion. Girls related to me like I was a boy, and boys related to me like I was a boy because of how gender detached I was, and that was just out of my own brokenness in my family. My parents were divorced when I was in 5th grade, and I was sent away to live with relatives in another state. And unfortunately, that's where I was sexually abused by an older male cousin. So as you can imagine, that didn't help my already warped view of men. So by the age of 12 years old, I had only ever seen women treated as the object of a man's lust or the victim of his abuse. And so I didn't have much appreciation for men or desire for them. I had walls built up around myself to protect me. So when I got into high school, it just, what happened was I got involved in a relationship with a girl. And we became best friends, but then we became more than friends. So I just, at that point, thought that this was who I was and I would always be gay. I began to embrace a gay identity. I thought I would always be gay. I found myself in that season of my life not really looking for God, but I love it that He knows to come looking for lost sheep who don't know to go looking for Him. And I found myself on a church softball team. Only because of my love of sports. It wasn't, I just tolerated the fact that it was a church team. I had friends that were playing, and so I joined this team. And so these women were bright girls, and some of them picked up on that I was dealing with homosexuality. And I love it that they didn't approach me about that, because that might have driven me away. What they did was they engaged me in friendship and in relationship, and they were praying for me behind the scenes. I was really curious what were they about, and I wanted to know about this God that they served. And so I became a Christian in 1989, and I wish I could say that instantly evaporated all my homosexual feelings and attractions, but it didn't. But it did change my eternal destiny and got me aligned with God to where now He was with me on this journey and I could look to Him for help. And so when I began to realize that the Bible clearly condemns homosexuality in the Old and the New Testament, and there was no way around that. He didn't condemn me, but He condemned my behavior, and I had to address that, and I didn't know what to do. And thankfully, it was in that season that I found out about Exodus International. So I began to attend an Exodus support group, and that's where I began to learn about the roots of my homosexuality, because I always just assumed I must have been born this way, because I felt pretty at home in my relationships with women. And so I just made a conclusion that this must be who I am, and I'm born this way. I found myself now as a young Christian just growing in my relationship with God, and for me it was like He showed me a better love. I was settling for something else, something that was not His plan for me. He showed me something better and something greater that He had for me. And I began to, in the church, really grow in learning how to relate to women appropriately. As I was able to have non-sexual intimacy with the same sex, my sexual attractions for women naturally diminished. I've been walking in freedom from homosexuality since 1990. By the grace of God. In 1999 is when I got into full-time ministry as the director of Worthy Creations, walking alongside of other people who have unwanted same-sex attractions and offering support and help to them. And that's been a great privilege, because I know what it did for me to have others walking alongside me to support me, and how I don't think I could have made it without the discipleship and the support that I had. There's a lot of misinformation about homosexuality in our culture, and so one of the things that I love about my work is that I get to speak in church groups and different settings and help educate people on these issues and bring the truth, because the truth is there is hope and there is freedom available to people who want to walk away from homosexuality. I'm not going to say that it's easy, but I do believe that it's possible for those who are seeking help.